Stop just watching TV. Welcome to Sega Channel. It's cable, but you don't watch it, you play it. Your Genesis is hooked up to about 50 games a month, like Sonic and Knuckles, Earthworm Jim, and Super Street Fighter 2. Get secret tips and test drive new games before they're out. Pay what you want for as long as you want for one monthly fee. Sega Channel. Stop just watching TV.
The Sega Channel.
Welcome to Sega Channel.
A device and service combination that was far ahead of its time, but to some extent held back by the technology of its era. For those of you who don't know, the Sega Channel was like the very first Xbox Gamepass ever dreamt up by greedy corporate assholes.
God damn, you're a greedy bastard.
It was a service that offered up a vast library of Genesis games at a monthly price. It was the very first of its kind, and pioneered the concept of online game accessibility. Nothing like that existed again for years to come after the thing finally died out. It was later followed up by trash company GameStop with their digital download service.
This is sweet, sweet trash.
That was likely a significant factor in the next wave of digital gaming. Sega Channel was arriving on the scene just as the internet was getting traction, with the first web browser accessible at that time, Mosaic being one of them, in April of 1993. But in many ways, it was even ahead of the internet, as you really couldn't do much with it in the early 90s. The Sega Channel was coincidentally announced in that very same month and year of April 1993, and finally launched in December of 1994. The service allowed Genesis owners to download games over their cable TV lines, providing a monthly library of games. It gave on-demand access to a monthly rotation of Genesis titles. 50 games each month would be available to download, and then the following month would usher in a whole new selection of options. Some people say it was originally 40 games that then dropped to 30 a month, and finally 20 games every 2 weeks. But I'm not 100% certain how true that is. Maybe someone can comment and let us know. Now, I never actually had Sega Channel myself, but I do have a friend who owned the device and had Sega Channel in his home. But when I tried to get him on the show for his unique perspective on the fucking thing, his exact response to me was, "Oh, I'm not dressed at the moment. All day has been spent in my undies, scratching my belly, playing Diablo 4. Okay, thanks buddy. I guess I'll have to go with plan fucking B here and do this the hard way. Now, if you can believe it, the service was actually quite expensive back in the day. The subscription itself only costed about $15 a month, plus a $25 activation fee. But for some reason, I distinctly remember that being enough to make us practically homeless out on the damn streets.
I can't eat! I'm broke, nigga! I'm broke!
It was a big deal as an add-on expense every month for my family and most others. Which was honestly fine, because I also remember wanting it, but not so much that I was going to pester my parents for it. However, I did get the honor of going over to my best friend's house to see it and play it a couple times. But it's been so long, I don't remember jack shit about those days. Which is why it would have been great if he had the 5 fucking minutes that I needed from him to talk about it. Since he has this insanely good memory for dumb shit like that. But that's fine, I'm sure he would have just used the opportunity to lie about beating me in Street Fighter 2 20 matches in a row, which totally did not happen. The number gets higher every time he tells the story. I believe it's up to 50 matches in a row now, right Chris? But yeah, from what I can remember, it was this physical cartridge that you would just slot into the system like any regular game. That cartridge had this coaxial input on the back of it, that you would then connect your TV line coaxial cable into, and voila, Sega Genesis Gamepass in the 90s. So how well did that actually work? Well, it all depended on your local cable TV provider. Because it relied on broadcast technology, it could oftentimes be unreliable and affected by factors such as cable infrastructure quality. But because the games were effectively downloaded onto that physical cartridge, once you got the game, it would run just like any other normal game would. However, downloads would regularly fail, especially with larger games, and it required restarting the console to start over. Some people have also reported that you couldn't save your game data for games such as Phantasy Star 2, but hopefully some genius will comment on whether or not that's true, because I am kinda curious about it. Believe it or not, the menu system was actually pretty neat too, and they even went as far as adding unique music for each category that you would browse through, from many popular Genesis titles. Unfortunately though, the Sega Channel was never a smash hit success in Sega's eyes. It managed to reach over 250,000 subscribers at its peak, but fell short of Sega's initial projection of over 1 million users.
You suck!
But even though it never became a broad mainstream success, the service managed to stay active for over 4 years. It is said that the Sega Channel had a poorly timed launch, because it was scheduled while Sega was focusing on the disaster Saturn console and moving away from the Genesis. So, after a short-lived run, it was finally shut down on June 30th, 1998. But it did manage to stay alive for 1 more month, only to be fully and completely discontinued on July 31st, 1998. Sega came up with many different gimmicks and add-ons during its time period, from the Sega CD and 32X to the Game Gear handheld system, the Menacer light gun, and the first of its kind, brilliant innovation that was the Sega Channel. In the end, Sega flamed out after its Saturn and Dreamcast consoles netted diminishing returns. But there's no denying that they did a lot right, which certainly includes hard shell cases as opposed to fucking cardboard boxes. And as we all know, they eventually became a purely software game development company because they simply could not compete with the juggernauts that are Sony and Nintendo. But those special days in the 90s where kids with rich ass parents could turn on their goddamn systems and play maybe 3 to 5 sick ass games out of 50, we'll remember that shit forever. So let's raise our glasses to the company that started digital game downloads and CD-ROM based video games. Oh wait, that was TurboGrafx 16. Well, one revolutionary thing is still pretty fucking cool. If you had the privilege of having Sega Channel back in the day, share your memories with me. I'd love to hear all about it. And let me know if I got anything wrong here or stuff I should have added. I'm sure my best buddy Chris will be happy to get all up in there and roast me nice and good like he always does. And if you liked the video, hit that thumbs up button. It really helps drive a good video up YouTube's bitch ass. DDG out.